Good morning. Live from the campus of the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama. This is Sports Talk, a weekly broadcast brought to you by the Academy and the Academy's Department of Communications. I'm Dr. Ogden, and I serve as moderator. And today we're going to talk about a very current topic, as we usually do. But first, our panel is Dr. Steve Butler, Dean of Academic Affairs, and Dr. Tim Foley, Dean of Student Services. Yesterday was kind of a landmark decision day in the world of sports. First of all, Everett Golson, the Notre Dame quarterback who was graduated, has transferred for his final year of eligibility to Florida State. Secondly, the NFL Rules Committee changed the extra point kick back 15 yards, and that's going to make it an equivalent to a 32-yard field goal. And then, of course, right around noon, or a little bit after noon, Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, within the NFL, announced that the Patriots would no longer pursue an appeal for the penalties handed down by the NFL through Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner. We're going to discuss this morning what all this means. Brief background. Last week, as you know, all of the sports talk was immersed with the Patriot NFL Ballghazi, as we call it, not the Inflategate, investigation. Allegations and encountering allegations were exchanged and hurled. Sports writers and other sports opinionists have engaged in the long debate. As a matter of fact, Sunday when they did on ESPN did the sports reporters, that was the topic for the entire hour. And yesterday, Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, made the announcement that because, in his words, he likes to measure 9 times then cut 1, his decision to keep the league together and to support the other 31 teams, the Patriots would not pursue an appeal. However, this left the door open for more opinions, more speculations, and more questions. And one important question which we'll engage is this. Even though the Patriots will not pursue the appeal, Tom Brady and the NFL Players Association are going to continue his appeal. So, gentlemen, overall, what are we to make of this?
I think we make absolutely nothing of this. I think Robert, one of the questions is, what do you make of Robert Kraft's change of heart? I think there was no change of heart. I think what Robert Kraft wanted to do last week was get the 20,000 word rebuttal out there so that they could have the Patriots position on the record. He said reluctantly yesterday that he was not going to pursue it. But one of the things that I think is important for people to understand is that there is no mechanism for the New England Patriots to appeal. Tom Brady is protected by the collective bargaining agreement. He's protected by federal labor laws. The owner is not, and the owner can't sue the National Football League. Although Al Davis, may disagree, but Tom Brady's appeal is going to go on, and because he has those avenues, I personally think it's going to end up in federal court. And his 4-game suspension will be reduced to 0. But we'll see how that goes. But that's my prediction at this point.
It's important to remember who this guy is. He is the CEO, and his gross profit was 4.84 for Kraft. So
4.84 billion.
4.84 billion. It's probably the best to stay out of the limelight for anything negative. I'm guessing there's a board of trustees for Kraft.
Yeah,
as well.
And $1 million fine is like a drop in the bucket.
Well, yeah, they said on the radio, on ESPN radio, if Tom Brady gets a 2-game suspension, if it gets reduced to 2, Kraft's actually saving more than $1 million in salary to pay the fine.
It was kind of interesting because when I was at Walmart yesterday, I looked at the cheese slices and they did look like they were the regular, the Kraft cheese slices. They were regular size, so I was like, they weren't deflated.
They weren't deflated. Well, you mentioned Al Davis. There was a column that came out, and trying to see who wrote it. I've got it right here. It was Miles Reese in San Francisco. He says, Robert Kraft isn't wired for an Al Davis type fight against the NFL. He's not wired for it. $4.5 billion. I guess I wouldn't be wired for it.
But last year when Roger Goodell was under fire for his initial ruling in the Ray Rice case, Robert Kraft was one of his biggest supporters.
Right, exactly.
And everybody knows they're good friends. Evidently, they were at a birthday party Saturday night and ate cake together. And there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there who are, if you listen to ESPN radio the last couple of days, are saying things like, well, Goodell said, look, Robert, if you drop this stuff, then we'll reduce Brady's to 2 games or whatever. But I heard Adam Schefter on the radio this morning on Mike and Mike, and he's pretty well in tune with what's going on in the NFL. And he said that he talked to Tom Brady, and Tom Brady honestly believes he did not do anything wrong. And we say all the time, and people say this on the radio all the time, if he really doesn't think he did anything wrong, he should scream it from the mountaintops, and he should fight it as far as he can fight it. If that includes federal court, then I think that's what he should do. Now, do I think he didn't do anything wrong? I don't know. And if you read the Ted Wells report, you still don't know.
Right. And one of the things,
there's not much in there really.
I know. And one of the things that I think is important is to remember Brady is not the kind of guy that's just he's not a very verbal guy, but his actions speak really, really volumes. And the Patriots got themselves into this jam because there's so many people that think that something's wrong with the NFL since it's going to go to the appeals, is going to go to Goodell. Well, that's what the players, the NFLPA, had bargained, and they gave into that. They said, okay, well, if there's an arbitration, Goodell's going to do the arbitration. So the guy who hands out the penalties, of course, he shuffled that off to a vice president. If he's going to make sure that it's distributed, then he's the arbitrator.
Going back to last week, I really think this is because of the history of the Patriots. They do have a history. And no, you can't compare Al Davis, whose one rule is you get between the lines, you play your behind off with the CEO of Kraft. Right. Totally different individuals.
Yeah.
Well, Al Davis was a football guy.
Yeah.
He's a player, he's a coach, and a general manager, and then became an owner. Robert Kraft's a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why the 4.5 has a V after it instead of an M.
Yeah.
And, I think, was the suspension, the fine, it was way over the top.
Of course.
For what they did, and all the analytics, John Brinkness on Sports Science, they deflated the ball from 12.5 to,
right.
And 1 millimeter total, a half millimeter on each side of the football is how much more grip you had by deflating it to what supposedly the balls were that the Patriots were using.
Let's remember that third quarter when the balls were apparently pushed back. Correct.
Yeah.
What happened after 21 points?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting as you point out the metrics of it. Yesterday on NBC Sports, was Fox Sports, anyway, it was on radio, and the I forget his name, was the sportscaster, and he's a former lawyer, and he was talking about what they used to measure these balls. He says, well, first of all, they really, really didn't know how to apply the gas laws. And if you look about, you guys, I know you had to take physics, you're in the Air Force, and you talk about gas laws and so forth, and how the ball expands and contracts. If you take a look at what they did, they measured 11 balls of the Patriots, but only 4 balls of Denver. When did they play Denver?
The Colts.
It was the Colts. Okay, the Colts, Indianapolis. But they used 2 different calipers. They didn't use the same caliper. And you know as well as I do, and he knows, because he knows about airplanes and navigator and so forth, no 2 pieces of equipment are going to be exactly the same. And when you're dealing with millimeters, like you talked about, that's a difference. Now, I'll be quite honest with the audience. When I coached, and I coached the quarterbacks, and I threw the ball an awful lot, I did. There wasn't many regulations going back then about the PSI and the balls. I said, okay, the manufacturer says do not inflate to more than 13.5. That seems to be the maximum. But there's no minimum. Now the balls can go flat. And I have my quarterbacks playing at 10.5 PSI. It is easier for them those guys to catch and so forth, but obviously it did not make any difference. But they were in that cold weather then. So I just want to make that point about the calibration and so forth. And
I heard a guy on the radio. He's one of ESPN's legal analysts. I don't remember if it was Lester Munson or Roger Cossack or one of the other guys. But he said that if this goes to federal court, And if the judge reads the Ted Wells report before the trial will last less than 5 minutes.
I completely brought it out.
Yeah.
That's why he couches those terms about quite possibly may have. It's never the burden of proof to make a reasonable doubt. That's never, he doesn't use that language specifically because of that. But that's really, really interesting. And I went back and looked at the report. And when it gets into that explanation about the PSI and the gas laws and everything, it is really so foggy that I think that if the judges look at it, they're going to have to bring in a physicist and so forth. And then you get one guy who says one thing, another guy who says things like the climate change debate. But as we move on, do you guys think that maybe it looks like two things? Number one, that Kraft and Goodell really were in collusion, or that Kraft knows more than he's telling, or three, that they really just, the Patriots really just throw Brady under the bus?
I think Kraft. Well, when you become a CEO of an organization like that, I think you know a little bit more
Yeah.
than what we do.
And he made the statement that if I would have made this decision last week, it might have been different.
Right.
He didn't get to be a billionaire by doing stupid things. He probably sat down and he thought about, well, if we do this, this is the possible outcome. If we do this, this is the possible outcome. If we do this, this is the possible outcome. And he probably honestly thought that from a businessman's perspective, this was the best route to take.
I think you're quite right.
And he looks magnanimous. It looks like, everybody's today saying, Kraft took the what's best for the NFL above his own team.
Right.
And like I said at the beginning, there really is no mechanism for appeal for owners.
Exactly.
So he looks magnanimous in doing something that he really couldn't do anyway.
Right. And he doesn't have that temper that Al Davis temper.
No.
You're from California, you know Al Davis.
This kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember when Albert Bell corked his bat.
Yeah.
Way back.
Yeah.
John Kruk made a great statement. He said he was on Leno and he said, well, he already hits at 800 feet. I guess he wanted to hit at 1,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, exactly.
It's really, really, it's so convoluted. And you guys mentioned it before. What if this had happened to Tampa Bay? Do you think we would have this kerfuffle now?
No.
No.
Your point was, it was the Patriots, and I wrote a column and called it the Evil Empire, Goodell and the NFL versus the Evil Empire. and that's how they've been portrayed. Oh my God, the fans out there, of course, they're led by sheep anyway. And you got one sportscaster who is a flame against the Patriots, another one who's a flame for the Patriots, and it doesn't hurt ticket sales.
It's kind of, you really love to hate these guys because they're very successful. It's kind of like the Yankees. You just, we're out to find, they can't be this good. What are they doing?
Yeah, there must be something wrong. They won't accept.
And of course, Belichick's an open book. When he has a press conference, he gives you all the information you ever needed. All you have to do is ask.
And I think Saban follows that same script, and that's really, really interesting. And we got one last question. Obviously, it makes for good drama. The NFL likes in a way, but is it going to go anywhere? You mentioned it's going to go to the Supreme Court, Tim.
I don't believe so.
I didn't say the Supreme Court. I said federal court.
I really don't. We all know that. The game, the weight of the balls to decide that game. We know that athletes, all of them, are going to toe the line, even go over. Whether it's scuffing up baseballs, that's just what they do.
Some of the guys said they took sandpaper to the footballs in other places.
Terry Bradshaw said that.
Yeah, and what's really ironic? I think it's so great. I forget who pointed it out, but I picked up on this. There's a group in the NFL that has not said a word. They've been strangely silent. All the other quarterbacks haven't said a word.
Well, Aaron Rodgers said he likes the balls overinflated.
Yeah, I know.
And he's got real few chance. And what about they used to put the stuff on the hands,
Yeah.
stick them,
Yeah, who was the receiver?
Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice,
said he put it on his gloves.
Yeah.
After it was out. Remember Lester Hayes? He
Yes.
used to play for the Raiders.
You know,
Stick him out all the way up to his elbows.
watch the leadoff hitter on baseball games. They get in the box, and what they do is they like to scratch out that back line so they can get further away from the pitchers. It's
Right now, they used to kick out the front line too, so the pitcher wouldn't know where the zone was. But you can't do that this year.
And the next time a third base coach is in the third base coach,
that'll
be the first time.
That'll be the first time. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I guess that's about time. We want to thank you all for tuning in and reminding you that this weekend is Memorial Weekend. And it's a time for all of us to reflect on the fact that we do live in the land of the free, because of the brave men and women like the Colonel here who did sacrifice for our country. So take time, and I know that the greatest generation, my father was one of them, is one of them. He's 90 years old. He's in the submarine service in World War II. All of his buddies are just about gone to the final battleground, and we're losing them at an enormously alarming rate. So take time, reflect on what our heritage is. Have a great Memorial Weekend. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.